I've
By
never
the way,
been mad
did
at
you
any
see
of you
what's
guys.
happening with Ruslan and Marcus Rogers?
Yes.
What happened?
I've been watching everything
got
about
beef?
it.
Yeah, you've seen Marcus Rogers
know
stuff
both.
before? Yeah, I don't know what they were getting into. It was about this whole Dante Bo stuff. And
Marcus Rogers called Ruslan because he was talking about Dante Bo. Then he brought up Lecrae and all them guys. Then he brings in Ruslan and says, like, you guys are fake. Ruslan's like, all right, let's do this thing.
Yeah, I like Ruslan.
personally because they have their numbers, like they're friends.
Oh, really?
Or acquaintances, I should say acquaintances.
They know each other.
Yeah. He's like, you didn't even reach out to me and say, hey, like, what's up with this? You just called me out on YouTube and say I'm fake.
yeah, that was tough. I love Ruslan. Shout out to Ruslan. I've seen Marcus Rogers stuff. He has like these visions and stuff. Huh? Oh yeah, we're rolling too, by the way. Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've seen some of his stuff, and I think my hardest thing with some of these Christian like gossip stuff is like there's genuine problems between Christians that are on YouTube or have platforms, and everybody just loves talking about it because we still love drama.
Correct.
And I saw it, and I'm like you. I'm like, what? I'm like researching it, and I'm seeing all the comments. And then there's times where I'm like researching Christian drama, and I'm like, dang, this kind of feels wrong, though. It's just like everyone else talks about secular drama. We do the same thing.
Yeah.
I find it interesting because I think it's pulling people to go closer to the word. And
Yes, like find out for yourself.
yeah, because you have all these opinions. Like, okay, well, what does God say about it? What does the
great.
Bible say?
Yeah, that's great. And we've talked about Dante, obviously, in private. We've talked about, stuff that happens with scandals. And me being a pastor, I'm always trying to keep people aware that this stuff does happen. But at the same time, you're also like, okay, but that should be in the context, like talk to people in private about it. You're not going to see me putting out a video. I mean, we'll talk about what they were doing right now, but it's not like we're going to put out a video like, here's my thoughts on the fall of a Christian worship leader. It's like, that's not my lane. So Ruslan, though, it works for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't back. I mean, both of them don't back down from a challenge, but like I think there needs to be more grace
Yes.
because like if they're not careful, like I think the enemy can definitely take it as like deunifying the body.
Yes. And get people arguing.
And we're just falling into it. It's like, nah, dude, like let's
Yeah.
remain like, yeah, we may have different views, but we're still brothers and we still believe in the same Jesus, you know? So like,
cool,
let's keep that as a foundation.
I like that.
So we're good?
Yeah, we're rolling.
We're rolling.
Gio, if you want to scoot a little bit, just because like
You might be cut off,
if-
man.
yeah.
Get close, man. Well, not too close, though.
You just pulled a Gio because Gio would do that. Like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
All right. Good news. New episode. This is our fourth episode of our podcast here at Good News Podcast. This is our church podcast. This is our people podcast. I don't really want
Big
to.
jug of water.
I'm trying to keep track, yo. Look,
He's trying to get
already-
like
Goodness
I'm at
gracious.
3 p.m.
Yo,
It's not even 3 yet.
at 1 p.m. it says keep on chugging.
I know. So let's see this real quick, though. I mean, because there is like a message for each part of the day. Well, you're ahead of the day. You're on 3 o'clock right
3
now.
I
p.m.
naturally already drink.
It's
a lot of
only
water.
like
You need to slow
11.
down. Is what you need to do.
I went pee like 3 times already. So
You're not supposed to. It's supposed to use the water.
No, when you drink a gallon of water, it's gonna flush you out. You're gonna pee at least once every like 20 minutes.
Eventually you're gonna start peeing less because
your
body's learning what to do with the water that you're drinking.
Oh,
I don't
could be.
agree with
So
that.
moderate
You got to
it.
lift your mic, too, a lot closer, bro.
Here,
Yeah, see, I just did a podcast with my sister and her husband.
like direct it to your face.
Manny and Maya, shout out if you're watching, we love you. And when I replayed it later, it was like she was doing the same thing. It was kind of far. I felt bad.
Just these people with long arms, you know.
I know.
Microphones aren't
Yeah.
made for long arm people.
Yep, that's right. Well, hey, this is our third episode of this podcast, and third episode this is our fourth episode. Sorry. And today I'm so happy to have like 3 of just my good friends. They're obviously key people here at our church, been helping us since we started, for the most part. Before gospel started, I knew this guy. So I'm happy to have Jesse, happy to have Jeri,
It's popping.
and Gio.
G-O.
Yeah, but you don't spell your name with a J.
No, it's G-I-O.
I think if you spell it with a J, it would be Gio.
No, it's
Giovanni.
Gio. It's like
Yeah.
That'd be cool as a name.
Giovanni?
Giovanni. Don't say nothing else. I probably
Yeah.
there's different like variations of it, like Giovanni.
Giovanni.
Yeah, I know a couple Jovans that I always thought was short for Giovanni. And I told one of them, "Is your name short for Giovanni?" And he like looked like he wanted to slap me. Like
Just Giovanni.
must have got it before.
Keep it. Giovanni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm happy to have you guys on today. Obviously, at our podcast, we try to have real conversations, good conversations. It's pretty wild, though, when I look at each one of you and think about your story, think about how you got connected to our church. Obviously, we're 8 months in since we launched. We just had our first service. At the time of this recording, we had our first service on Sunday in our building,
Yeah.
which is now where it's our new studio, too.
The green room. Welcome.
It's the green room.
Literally a green room.
Yeah. So we were talking about this earlier, Jesse. So when you think of green room, like, had you heard of that language before? Like
No,
when
I
I was
thought
like,
there was gonna be like plants and like nice succulents.
Yo.
oh, like a greenhouse.
That'd be
Succulents?
nice. Dude, I do think we need
we
some
could
stuff
definitely
on.
do that, but I didn't know
Yeah.
what green room was actually.
Well, like we've been around green rooms, but it was like, especially in conferences I was going to, and like my pastor would bring me to. Green rooms always started as a place of like, oh, we're going to honor some of our guests that are here. So like if we were having a conference and we had 10 pastors that have sown into our church, it's basically creating a space where, hey, come and hang out for a second. Like worship teams, before they go on stage, they have a green room, that kind of stuff. But we were talking about how quickly green rooms can become more so like status checks. And, how important are you? Or, how much have you really done? And all this stuff. And, what's your thoughts on that?
Giggling over there, bro.
You made eye contact.
I know.
Next question.
Well, it's funny though, because you had never heard of that.
No, never.
And I think green rooms start off for the good reason, but then there's some insecurities or there's some power trips that they become dysfunctional.
Well, I've been to churches where like there was church office or like church rooms where like the team would go to like meet or just like have a meeting. I didn't know that there's an actual name for it, and there's like an actual like honor that goes with it.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a mega church culture thing where it just becomes like,
It's not biblical. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, I was saying it like even outside of church, they have it in like venues and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
like
it's
shows and stuff. So I think
typical.
it probably comes from that.
yeah, it's typical for a green room to like, if, No Doubt, I don't know why I'm thinking of No Doubt. If No Doubt is playing a concert,
yeah.
they would have a green room at the venue. Like, here's where you get dressed. Here's where your band
This
eats.
this is your safe place
Good
before you
choice,
hit the stage.
no doubt.
yeah.
Or
Shout out.
What's the first live concert that comes to your head? Don't say Hillsong.
Live song? Live what?
Live song. The first live concert. Like, you're at a concert. Who are you watching perform?
John
Oh
you love
my
John
God.
Keith.
That's my boy, John.
You love John Keith. I think we could.
That's a great question. I don't know.
Don't overthink it.
No, I'm an overthinker. Like, I don't want to say any answer because, like, you're going to hold me to it.
No, like, if you could see a show live, who's somebody you want to see live?
Oh.
Don't say Bad Bunny.
Right.
That's wrong. Sorry.
Oh, man. I think
Say good bunny.
I'm going to have to say Morgan Wallen. He's country.
Oh, okay.
Morgan Wallen.
Is this a
Yeah.
real name?
Yeah.
No,
So you like country music, huh?
I love country music.
Okay. Okay.
We're gonna sit on that for a
I
minute.
well, yeah,
can't
I would
tell,
love to
like-
talk about that because I listen to all music except country.
He should have said all music, except.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the swing of some of the songs. I don't know if
Is
it's
it the twang?
The twang. I don't know if it's
Country music gives me anxiety.
Why?
really.
Yo, I feel like it's like
I feel like
the
something bad's
slow-
gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, like somebody's gonna die, or it's like about somebody dying. Like I feel that way.
What songs have you heard?
Probably not enough, but
Yeah, no, I
Like-
can put you on something.
So are you more on like the pure country sound, or are you against like the hybrid?
Like, how about the poppy stuff? Like, I will say, like, Florida Georgia Line
That
is a
was-
band I've heard of.
Yeah.
But they're like rapping. There's like some 808s
they have a lot
on
of
it.
crossover.
Like,
featured up in there.
yeah, they were a lot of
Yeah.
crossover. No, even Nelly had.
what are your thoughts on that? What, you like country music? Is
Yeah.
it good?
I do love some pop. I'm very picky on like what I listen to,
Yeah.
but I like more like from the 80s, 90s, George Strait, Garth Brooks.
Okay.
Straight and true.
Sheesh.
It's more of like that pure sound, and there's like there's a few artists right now that are starting to bring that back.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like the poppy stuff, nah, it don't feel authentic.
I've always had such a genuine love for music and respect for each genre. And I think being able to say like, this is this is that, there's something great about that. Yeah. But once it gets blurred where it's like, I know artists that do this crossover, like they all of a sudden are now pop artists or they're this.
Yeah, yeah.
And it does make you go, well, interesting.
Taylor
Is this-
Swift.
Yeah, Taylor Swift, yeah. But I think we're on something interesting though, because I said, what's a concert that you would want to see live? And I don't know if this is normal, but like, I feel like when someone asks me about music as a Christian, there's almost like an intense pressure to not say that I listen to secular music.
I feel that way 110%.
I feel like a lot of Christians do. Well, I feel like Christians, a lot of Christians do. It's like
Here we go.
they're listening to Kendrick, they're listening to this stuff, but there's almost this like, I only listen to John Keefe, or something like that. He's a Christian guy, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Politically
Lecrae.
correct.
He's just lit though. Like you just can't
No,
deny.
he-
Well, that's why I don't like the
solid.
idea of
He's
like
very
Christian
good.
rappers, like they're rappers that are Christians. But I want to ask that question. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on like secular music for Christians?
I think this is the perfect time to talk about it.
This is a now time. Yeah.
I mean, I would love to get your thoughts here. I think that we're all going to come from a different perspective, based on how you were raised, based on how long you've been a Christian, these kind of things. But that's the question I think I've got a lot of times is, hey, Pastor Billy, is it okay if I listen to this kind of music?
Yeah. Jeri, what do you think? Because you come
I
from a
haven't
very
heard
different
what you think
background.
about it. We've talked about this
Yeah,
a lot,
yeah,
but I don't know what you think.
Okay, so with music, like previously to church ministry, I was actually working in a record pool. So if you don't know what a DJ record pool, it's pretty much where DJs get access to music legally, so they don't have to rip it from like YouTube and all that. So I was consuming a lot of music there, meeting a lot of DJs who curate and all that. That being said, I think with music, it depends how you consume it and do you let it affect you. That's the biggest thing.
That's good.
When I listen to worship and Christian music, it affects me in a different way. Whereas if I listen to secular music, I don't let it. It's more of like an entertainment thing, but I don't let it change my mindset. I don't let it motivate me to do things. I think
That's key.
right?
I think that's what you've said before too. But
Yeah.
like we've talked about it too, and you've been like, well, I'm not going to listen to Tupac if he just makes me mad and want to drink, Henny or something.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost as if like, what's the results of this music? It's one thing if you're driving down the street with your girl and you're like, it's a vibe right now. I'm going to toss this on for the feels.
Yeah.
It's another thing if it genuinely starts to form you to think that what's being talked about is as important as the song it makes it.
Yep.
Because I've heard even like pastors say, well, like all music can be worship. And what makes a song worship is the person you're singing to.
Yeah.
And so some of the greatest love songs ever are obviously talking about a love between two people. Well, that only exists because of God, And so I've heard like a pastor singing, some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all.
How do you guys feel when they flip secular songs into
I think
worship?
it's kind of lame. I think it depends. I think if it's blatantly like, for me, that only works like in like intimate worship moments. Like I don't like fast songs that we're trying to flip a fast song into a Christian song.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to sing, it ain't you, Jesus. It's like,
like it needs to be done right. If anything,
right. But like we heard that Elvis joint. What's that song called?
Oh,
Who's the guys?
Can't Help Falling in Love. I think it's MBL Worship.
I think MBL Worship, and they do a mashup of Jesus, We Love You, and then it goes into Take My Hand. And it's like, well, if I'm in the presence of God, I think it's appropriate.
Okay.
But I think it's kind of lame sometimes, like going to youth camp, and they're like, just hold on, we're going home to heaven. It's like, you're trying too hard. That's it.
It gets corny when you try too hard.
Reaching, yes. If it's a surprise and all of a sudden, we used to sing a song at Destiny called "Place of Freedom," and the song was like, there's no one that can give me peace, that can wash me clean, and we used to sing it at youth, where we would sing it a couple times. And then like Randy would start singing, no one can get in the way of what I'm feeling. It's like, that makes sense in an intimate time of surrender.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you're reaching, it's a little lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yes.
Like,
So is it okay though for a Christian to listen to secular music, you think? I would like to know your answer, because obviously I think you have.
listen to Christian or to secular music.
yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up in church, so like, I grew up on secular music. Now, I don't know, because I do know like it can influence you. So like, why open that door if you already know, where it's going to lead to?
100%.
Me personally, being involved in worship, it just doesn't feel right to be singing songs that are talking about like drinking or just, stuff like that. And then go and be like, oh, Jesus, I love you. I love you. I love you. Sure. It's like, nah, dude, like for me personally, I don't agree with it. I think you have to be just very wise on what you're listening to.
It's good. Nah, dude. And I think there's a lot of people like that. I think, this whole, what we were talking earlier about these two YouTubers that were beefing about stuff. It's like, one of them says, secular music opens the door for demons to come into you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what if my gates are pretty protected? You know what I mean? Like, what if I feel like that does not have the influence that statement is, like, demons coming into my life because what? I listen to some Notorious B.I.G. on the way to church. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to tell somebody, cut that out of your life, unless it's actively showing and forming them into someone that they're not.
Showing bad fruit.
If it's showing
100%.
bad fruit, then it's a it's a bad tree.
100%. But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
who's the evaluator of whether it's bad fruit though? Because all of us know people that would probably say, I'm good, even though they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, isn't
But
that
here's
tough?
the thing. So I won't say exactly who it is, but I think they're gonna know. Someone recently said that their music activates demons. The artist said her own music activates demons.
That's intense.
And if you're listening to that as a Christian, what does that say?
Sure. I
You
think
know-
there's a line for every type of like song, every type of genre. Like I think there's lines that you just can't cross. Not just as a Christian, but like I think, secular music like has this. I think there's this pull that it has, right? It's like popular or the sounds are different or whatever. But like I think the line should be blurred when it comes to like distinguishing CHH from like regular rap. Christian hip hop and regular rap. I don't think that there should be a line there saying like, oh, I'm a CHH artist. And I think a lot of artists are saying the same thing, but some artists are like, no, I'm a Christian rapper.
Right. And naturally, we just call the whole genre Christian rap.
Right.
Yeah.
Without knowing, like, Andy Mineo is a rapper
Yeah.
that follows Jesus. So naturally, that produces lyrics about Jesus.
Right.
That's how we teach discipleship. You don't show up like, I'm a Christian. Let the natural response to his grace, his love, change you.
But
And so, but hold on a second. I got a lot of respect when you say something like, no, for me, I'm a worship leader.
Yep.
No, I know the power of lyrics and worship maybe differently than the average person in our church. So again, this is a civility thing. We got to get to a place where it's like, I know people that listen to Kendrick, and for me, there's some things Kendrick, he crosses the line on. I know people that listen to like Odd Future still and Tyler, the Creator. And I'm like, they are blatantly sacrilegious. I can't roll with that. And like you said, that line is crossed, so
100%.
good. What were you going to say?
Oh yeah, no, I think even in music in general, we still box people in because we say Christian rap. But even in rap itself, there's still backpack, there's trap, there's
There's different
West Coast.
expressions of it.
different
Yeah, there's
expressions.
West
So
Coast,
I think
East
regardless
Coast.
if we want it to be where Christian rap isn't boxed in, it's still gonna be boxed in because we box in everything else.
Which I don't think it's a huge deal that there's different genres, there's different niches and whatever. That's fine because that's just how music is distinguished, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference when you're saying you put Lecrae next to Drake. They're both like amazing artists, right?
Yeah.
But they're both rappers and
Yeah.
they're both artists.
Facts. Yeah.
One, happens to live a different life than the other. You know what I mean? And I
100%.
don't think that's where it should be distinguished. I think that's where it should be distinguished, not within the realm of like, okay, he's a Christian artist. This is a secular.
Absolutely,
I don't-
yeah.
like, who wants to be called secular? First,
No, I get that.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only
yeah.
people calling that is Christians.
Yeah.
And because we're acknowledging it as the outside. And we need to. There has to be a healthy line of knowing, like, we shouldn't look like everybody else. We shouldn't be moved by everything else. Like, the New Testament, Paul talks about, like, put such amount away from you. Like, he talks about removing people from the church that are bad influences. So there is precedent to be like, no, we need to keep this out. But again, I feel like that's an individual discipleship to Jesus move where, for me, like, I love listening to like old school music. We listen to the Temptations, we listen to Smokey Robinson, we like playing like the Deltones. Like, we play all these old school stuff all the time.
Otis Redding.
We played some Simon and Garfunkel the other day. Like, my wife's a Frank Sinatra guy. But every now and then, like, we were at a wedding recently. There's always jams at a wedding.
Yeah, of course.
So as a Christian, I don't want to be that type that now turns someone off to my practice because I'm like, I can't associate with that. Right. And they're like, okay, but I don't know. Would Jesus be bumping Kendrick? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
No, he would not.
No, he would not. No, like he wouldn't.
Yeah.
Which then it's like, we're supposed to follow after his ways. If he wouldn't,
100%,
then-
brother. So just to recap, we have different opinions here. So I think secular music, we can all agree that secular music has to be established, whether it's okay, in the life of the disciple. And hopefully there's accountability there. I've told people to cut stuff off here already. Like at our church, I know individuals that, they're really into stuff and they'll bring it up. And I'll be like, yeah, dude, you probably don't want to watch that. You probably don't want to listen to that. But I think to really answer the question, should Christians listen to secular music? My personal thought is it has to be that individual disciple's decision. We know that we're not supposed to look like the world.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sit here and justify listening to sinful music because you can handle it. there is a side where it's like, no, that convicts me. You know, my wife and I have walked out of movies. We'll talk about movies in a second because I want to know your thoughts on this too. I want to know your thoughts on movies too. But I think it's like the Holy Spirit has to reveal to you. I like Gio's answer that pretty much says no. And I think that that's fair to say, like, no, if Jesus is calling you to a life of holiness, you should not sound like the world, look like the world. I loved what Jesse's answer was, which is, you said if it's producing bad fruit. So again, somebody has to evaluate, is this good for you to be listening to Tupac? Or do you come home ready to, you know, hit him up? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there something producing it in you, or is it good? And I love what you said too, just in a sense of like, you know, well, you actually said it. We're the ones that are calling it secular. Nobody wants to be called secular. And so as Christians, we have to be graceful in talking about this, but firm about what we believe, huh?
Yeah.
We need to be firm, especially in the day and age we live in.
Well, and I can even say this too. We'll see how this one goes, but so
There's no going
I think
back
I
on
told
it.
you this before too. Is like I have a hard time listening to worship music though. I got saved to Christian rap. I got saved to Lecrae. I got saved to like Andy Mineo. I got saved to KB. Shout out. And like that's where I was stuck. But when it came to like getting intimate with God and like actually not just reading the word and then, you know, later on just, you know, end up some rap, it was like, how do I get intimate and like listen to this type of music now? Like listen to like, you know, back in the day it was like Carrie Job and all that.
Hey, that's interesting, dude, because I know people are like that too. They're like, I try to, you know, play Shout to the Lord. You know, they're listening to like 90s Hillsong in the middle of the day. Right. Someone like Melvin or like somebody that's like new to Christianity. I love him, dude. He was on the last episode. We can't just like expect that people are going to love, you know, hymns and stuff. Or United Pursuit. Like, I love House Fires. I love United Pursuit. Shout out United Pursuit. Shout out UP. You know, like, I love them, right? But for some people, they're like, I want Hillsong.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's an individual thing where, I don't know. Is it bad to not listen to worship music in the day? Like, is it okay?
I think it's fine. I have no problem with it. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, am I supposed, as a Christian, am I supposed to listen to worship music now and only consume Christian content?
I think we need to go deep and like define what is worship, because for us that are in the church, like, yeah, we listen to Hillsong, we listen to United Pursuit, whatever. But for someone that may be in a different country, they may have a different style of worship. And we hear like that. That's more pop. It's like, well, for them, that's worship.
So should it be called worship music then off the jump? Like when I'm like, all right, guys, here's the new Hillsong. When you put it into your car, is it like, okay, I'm putting on worship music? What makes the music worship? Because it's about God, right?
Is it the content of the song?
Glorification, like
I guess it's the meaning behind the song.
Yeah.
That's the heart posture.
Because you can even consider like the hip hop portion of it their form of worship to God.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I love what you said. It's the posture.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the content and the purpose, right?
Yeah, see, so I think this goes into the boxing and the labels that we do as Christians, where it's more nuanced than, you know, like in the 80s and 90s, we told people like, don't do that because you're supposed to be holy. And I think a lot of people just did it because they're like, I want to be holy, without really knowing the process of being holy. And you've talked about being holy. That comes from being with Jesus. So the only way to get holy is to be focused on the one who is holy. Yeah. And naturally, as you're with him, the other stuff strips off.
Yeah.
You know, and I think with the Christian rap, with the Christian music, with the secular rap, secular music, one, we label it too much, but it is a journey of sanctification where in heaven, we're not gonna be listening to secular music.
Right.
And if that's the goal of a Christian, is to attain to that, not attain to it, but get to that place of full glory.
Yeah.
Right. Then eventually we're getting less and less like ourselves and more like him.
I will jump on what he said because I have a very similar story. Again, like, you know, I didn't grow up in church. So like my language was hip hop music. Sure. So when I first came to Jesus and Christian hip hop was like my big thing. And then one day I was at work. I was working on a farm. So I was driving a tractor and I just listened to Christian hip hop all day. And it was like 11 o'clock in the morning and I could not listen to it anymore. It didn't feel right. It was Christian hip hop. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying I just could not listen to it. I'm like, what the heck? And God was like, no more Christian hip hop, listen to worship. I was like, I don't like worship. Like, I don't know how to do it. He's like, exactly. But because of that, now he's leading me into like
getting into worship leading. I didn't know that at the time, that he was preparing my heart to learn how to do it, you know.
yeah.
But it was that inward conviction of like, I just can't listen to Christian hip hop.
Wow.
Now I can, but you know,
Right, but it was a forming season because you are a worship leader at Gospel, and there is a sense of, you know, Jeri's a production point here, and so there's a sense of different focuses.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to get everybody's hearts and attention focus on Jesus through the music.
correct.
You're trying to get their hearts and attentions and focus on Jesus through the tech, which is the same end goal, but it's like you're going to be affected by things that pertain to music differently than you.
Yeah.
And it's, again, I don't think it means one's more holy than the other, but I do think, like you said, there is a sense of sanctification. Like we should become more like Jesus. So Christian rappers, you were saying earlier, you know, they're rappers who are Christian. No one wants to be secular. What are your thoughts on like Christian actors? Like there are actors that, you know, will publicly say, I'm a Christian, I love Jesus. And then they'll just get bashed for being in a role that doesn't pertain to anything godly. Thoughts on that? Anybody thoughts on that? I mean, I know they got to make money. Sure. And there are people that'll say, God put me here. But you know, there's celebrities and we're not the bashing type at our church. I don't really like calling out specifics. I don't really like mentioning names, but you get an idea of like the people that are in roles and then they win an award and they're like, I love Jesus.
Yeah.
And then the Bible believing, doctrinally sound Christian goes, how could that be if you just did
Exactly.
that? Any thoughts on that?
I feel like there's a lot of actors and actresses who grew up knowing that there's a God, knowing that they went to church on Sundays. And it might have been deep, it might have been surface level, but regardless, they had that culture in their lives growing up. And I think when they attained a certain level of popularity, status, whatever, they kind of fell off. And I feel like this is a similar story for a lot of artists, whether it be singers or actors.
Even right now, we're seeing it with some artists. Yeah.
And I think once they get to that point where like, okay, I achieved this accolade, or you know, I made X amount of dollars and I'm like this type of popularity, I think then they're like, maybe I should really give reverence to like this external source that like I believed in when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I think it just falls off again.
That's why I think the bait and switch technique is like, you know, I'm going to make it and then I'll be like, oh, by the way, glorify God. Versus like from the jump, identifying as a Christian and just saying, here's what I'm about, and then seeing what happens. Yeah. I think it's a tough area too, because like we don't know people's hearts.
We don't know their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody listening to this is getting anything out of this, I love having these discussions to always get back down to the fact of, well, I don't really know. See, you can't judge somebody that's on a platform bigger than you because you don't know the level of life they're at. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was talking to somebody recently about like a big name pastor that has church in like an arena, and he was talking about just things he's got problems with and, you know, this and that. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? Did you hear about this? And I know everything he was referencing, but in my head, I was like, well, I don't know what that stress is like.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to lead a church that big. So I want to extend grace to somebody when they fall, because I'm hoping I never need that grace extended to me. Do you know what I mean? So even when it comes to actors and stuff, I want to critique it to teach each other, like, well, how does Christians exist here still? You know, how do we be in this world but not of it? Well, we got these, you know, famous people that say they love Jesus, and then all these Christians fall apart because they're like, Kanye's not really saved. Kanye's not really saved. And I'm like, I'm sorry, am I Jesus? Am I the Holy Spirit?
Right.
I don't want to get to heaven one day and God be like, let me tell you about every person that you judged their salvation real quick and just remind you their name was in the book the whole time.
Because imagine if our lives daily were being out there.
Yeah.
I think we would be in for a rude awakening, because there's a lot of stuff that we're blind to see right now.
Right.
That they would seem like, hey, this is wrong, this is wrong. You're like, no, it's like, actually it is, because we're not in the spotlight. They are, unfortunately, you know, and there's a heavier weight that comes with that platform.
Yeah.
100%.
Jeri, you've worked with like a lot of high end like type of musicians and stuff too. Like what type of things have you seen that kind of correlate?
Like even just not musicians, I even think about like DJs. Like DJs orchestrate a room just like a worship leader would, right? You're facilitating whatever's happening in the room. I even say like, so even if you are a Christian, like that's why I had a question earlier. It was like in my head, I'm like, as a Christian and you're a DJ and you're playing music that is not godly, should you be in that profession?
I mean, I know people that are in secular professions that were a part of our church. And I mean, again, what is a secular profession? Everything. That's what I'm saying. It just happens so subtly. We're like secular, sacred, secular, sacred, secular, sacred. instead of being like, I follow Jesus and I live here. Simple as that. But I know a lot of people that, you know, were in certain industries that you're like, this is not a good industry, but they love Jesus and this is how they support their families. And like, they feel like this is where God put them. And so, you know, believe me, I've told people about their professions and be like, this is shady. Like, you should not be doing this. But then there's other people that are in fields that are controversial, you know, and they're killing it. They're making money and they're putting their kids through school and they tithe to church. And it's like, what do we say to that? You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a great question. I think if you're a DJ and you just met Jesus, keep DJing. Don't, you know, following Jesus needs to change your life. And eventually, as like the sanctification thing, I think the closer you get to him, the more you look at him.
You'll make the decision on your own.
100%. You'll know if he wants you to stop DJing.
Yeah.
Or he'll know if you need to break out like a worship song in there every now and then.
I think it's also breaking the church mentality because we're so accustomed to God's only in the four walls. Jesus prayed, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I mean, it's the entire earth, his kingdom to come. But it can if we're constantly in the building, you know? So I think, like people should be out there, you know, how they use their platform for Jesus, that's on them and God, you know, but I think we need to be out there.
100%. We need to, there's such an attraction towards staying in the church, getting in the church because it's safe here. Everyone agrees on the same stuff here, you know, but then when you go out with your coworkers that hate Christians, how well are you able to adapt? Yeah. No, that's good, man. I'd love to end the conversation with some church stuff and just get you guys' thoughts on church experience and stuff. But I want to just stay on the movie thing too for a little bit longer. So we talked about Christians that are actors how about movies? How do you guys deal with certain movies? You know, we watched a movie together recently. We both love cinematography. We both talk about films. We both want to direct a short film one day. Like we've got ideas. So I'm always drawn to these movies. But then there's always a part where it's like, is that necessary? Or like, if you wouldn't have done this scene, I wouldn't have felt this. How do you guys deal with stuff like that when you see something on a movie maybe?
I think watching movies now for me is always a test of heart.
That's good.
Because sometimes I'm watching something, I'm like, I'm definitely have to pray after this. Like, come on now. Or like listen to worship on the way home, or just like sometimes you're at home, we just turn it off. Be like,
100%.
We can't. Because especially if we watch it at night, and the last thing you remember is something you watch, you're like, okay, I can't do this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm on a routine. Side note, I'm on a routine trying to read a paper book the last 30 minutes of my day, just to get screens out of my eyes, just to get some last couple thoughts in my head. Because you're right. If you do go to sleep and the last scene you see is like, you know, a sex scene, and it pops up in a movie that you didn't know it was going to pop up at, and you turn it off, but you go to sleep with that. It's like, wait a minute. You got to cleanse that out of your head.
I was in my dream. Well, duh.
Well, duh. It was the last thing you saw.
Yeah.
Right. Randy and I have walked out of movies before, even with our daughter now. Like, you know, we're starting to show certain movies that we loved as kids, but we are so aware that like, well, you know, we want to be wise what we show her.
Correct.
So for us, we're willing to walk out when that line of conviction gets crossed. What is the line, Billy? What's the line? The moment that your heart starts racing, the moment that something in your gut feels off. You know, sometimes we feel it and we try to ignore it. Like we don't feel nervous watching this.
We try to rationalize it.
Hello.
Yeah.
You know, and 1, 2, 3, the three of us are married.
Soon, maybe, God willing.
Single. The three of us are married. How much more do we have to protect our wives?
Yeah.
And like, I can't just be watching something and my wife walk in and her go, what are you watching? And it throws that doubt in her, that confusion in her. So we're big. I mean, if it's an R-rated movie, we know going into it, there's going to be cuss words. But once it starts crossing that line of like nudity, starts getting into like, that's when for me, I'm like, I can't do it.
That just jacked me up. I mean, I'm a single guy, but like protecting your wife, like you don't really think about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Sorry.
Noted.
Yeah. What about you, Jesse? I mean, you guys have those moments, like when you see something on a movie that you just jumped into, how do you deal with it?
It's weird. So like we're kind of like similar. We really don't We don't watch horror movies, first of all.
Never. Me
I
either.
can't- Like, I
Is
get
it because
scared.
you scary?
I'm scary, bro.
Well, how's that entertainment?
I'll turn off the lights and I will turn on every flashlight that I have, my watch, my phone. And
Emily,
I'm walking like
Em.
this, bro, like head on a swivel. Like
Who's hiding first? You or M?
Bring your mic
Oh,
up
I'm
closer,
throwing
man.
M. I'm pushing her. I'm running, bro. Like
Yeah.
if I'm turning off the light, she's behind me. Make sure I'm safe.
Wait, come again?
No, I'm playing.
No, you ain't playing. You ain't playing. Dang, dude.
So no horror.
No horror movies.
What
but
else?
like once it comes down to like we don't watch romance movies. That's just don't do it for us. Nothing
Can I ask
like that.
why?
Just not interested.
I'm asking because I like rom-coms.
Oh, I love rom-coms.
I don't mind rom com, but like straight romance movies, it's not gonna.
Like
Oh,
The
we're
Notebook?
not-
Romance.
You seen The
we're not like
Notebook?
watch
The
50 Shades of
Notebook?
Grey or
You ever
nothing.
watched The Notebook?
I've never seen the movie.
You never seen The Notebook?
I've never seen the movie. Just the
Dude,
highlights.
You seen The Notebook?
Watch it, bro.
Did you see The Notebook?
Yes,
Did you cry?
like 10 times.
The first time I watched it, no, but that was a different season for me. That was when I was because I got to a point where I actually started crying in movies, but before whatever that point that was, I wasn't crying. But yes, I do cry in the Notebook.
No.
Okay.
I've never
Did you
cried.
cry?
Give each
The
other
Fault in
that
Our
look.
Stars, I cried.
Oh, yeah,
That's a good one.
A Walk to Remember?
yes.
Oh, dude.
I cried.
Yeah,
Bro,
no.
Brie loves her
You ever seen
sick
that?
girl movies.
I don't know what y'all talking about.
Well, I mean, they're romantic dramas. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Emily and I are just like we throw on Disney movies. We
Okay.
throw on like action movies. Like
I cry at
superhero
Disney
stuff.
movies too. What are you talking about?
You know what I'm
Let's
saying? That's
go on that rabbit
No,
hole.
what we
yeah.
are.
No, Disney is a whole separate podcast, bro. Yeah,
We
this-
can talk about that one too.
I'm just because there's again, but it's in the same alignment because
Yeah.
again, people will like expect that what bothers them should bother all people.
Correct.
And it goes to the music thing. I have such a respect for Giovanni. We have theological discussions all the time. But Giovanni has a sense of this is what the Lord has shown me. Okay.
Yeah.
He takes that, he infuses it into others, but it's never like, well, you need to.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the church needs to get because Disney is another thing. You know, we obviously have so much going on in our church where people are questioning a lot. And how do I do this?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have a daughter now. So like we're showing her like 90s Disney. Like she watched Toy Story the other day on Sabbath and we watched Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, I love it.
You know,
The bops.
great films, masterpieces. You know what I'm saying? But now it's just the messaging in it and it's just, you just have to be aware,
Yeah.
you know? Okay, so did you answer the question though? So how do you deal with stuff? So you just don't get into it, huh?
We really
avoid
don't
it?
have to, but like there's like some shows that we'll get into and stuff like
Shows,
that.
yeah.
Like I seen the Mike Tyson joint on Hulu. There was like some crazy stuff going on
Yeah.
in that one.
Magic,
Like,
that Lakers one too. I watched one on HBO
I've seen
Max.
some of that.
Yeah, that was whoa.
Yeah.
We didn't even 2 episodes in. I was like, I can't watch this.
there's certain lines we already know we don't have to cross.
Yeah.
So like if we notice it, we're done. But there's other lines where it's just like we give each other that look like.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. We kind of have a signal for sure.
It's like when you feel the double chin coming.
Yeah. It's real though. Yeah, I appreciate you guys speaking of that because again, it's something that people hold these views of. I mean, even the title of this video is going to be "Should Christians listen to secular music?" And it's just a question people have. There's going to be people disappointed in our answers. There's going to be people that love the answers, but it's a part of wrestling for unity.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Right? All controversial hot topics are let's wrestle with it so we can get to a place of unity.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on that as a lead pastor now. Like we have a church filled with different thoughts, different ways to vote, different views on controversial issues. And I'm just trying to respect people's opinions, but also remind them our opinions are nothing compared to God's word.
Right.
And so that's the final say, you know? And so I got Democrat friends that are like, the first commandment was to take care of the environment. So I vote Democrat because they care about,
Yeah.
environmental. And then I have Republican friends that are like abortion's the number one issue. So that's why I vote. And I don't want to sit here and say, you're not a Christian if you don't do this or do that. Because that's not unity.
No.
If anything, it's like both sides got biblical precedent. God will work it out one day in the
Kind of
end.
pushing them away.
Yeah.
100%.
That's more division. That's just more division.
Have you guys, and we'll end with this kind of thought, like have you guys been a part of church experiences where there was division or where you felt like there was disagreements?
All the time.
You're like right now.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with church, like I was a church hopper. Not proud of it.
What does
but,
that mean? Church hopper, like
you go to a church and then if you don't find what you're looking for, you go to the next one. And if you don't find what you're looking for, you go to the next one. But I was also just like looking for genuine community. And the churches I was going to didn't show that. So I was like, if you don't really love me, I'm a bounce. But in each church, I just noticed that there was like arguments over the dumbest things, stuff that just didn't matter. You know, I'm sure it matters to them, and I'm respecting that. But like, if it's causing division, causing you to change the way you see your brother and your sister, yeah, like maybe you should check your heart. You know, and
Yeah, because there's church hopping in the sense, like you said, going from one church looking for, if you don't like it, you go to the next church.
Yeah.
Is that biblical?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because
It's a made up term for sure. Like in
Church hopper,
in
yeah.
American culture,
Yeah.
But like that's what I was doing, you know. And I eventually found a great community. But yeah,
No, but it starts with that search for community. So naturally, when there is division, it feels like, well, no one wants to be in a place where everyone's at odds with each other.
Yeah.
Right? The bad side of that is you only hang out with people that agree with you. The good side of that is you respect everyone's opinion and you're just glad to have community.
I had to
You
get
know.
checked on that. Yeah.
Okay, so your previous church experiences, Giovanni, what are some things like, you know, you were church hopping, but like when you think about your first experiences in church, first time being in church, or where were you in your life? What was that like?
So I was 19 or 20, and I was very lost. Like everything I had hoped for in my life, dreams, college, just went out the window. So I was lost. And the church I went to was a non-denominational, but it was a small church, but it was good for what I needed at that time. The pastor was great. He was real and authentic, and I needed that because, like, again, I didn't grow up in church. So if you speak a language that I can understand, yeah, I'm going to get behind it, you know, and he was real with me. So I needed that. But then I ended up just, you know, going on a different path, and I needed something closer to home. So I went to just different churches around there, and a lot of the churches are denominational. So you have like Nazarene, you have Apostolic, and I went to all those.
Did you really? You went to like a Nazarene church?
Yeah. I was there for like a year, hopped to the Apostolic Church, and they've all like have shown me different things in my life now that hold dear to my heart. You know, like the Apostolic showed me the Holy Spirit. The Nazarene showed me how to like really get into like the word and you know, the traditions.
Yes. Legalism. Oh, I'm sorry. No, yeah.
There is a lot of legalism.
Sorry. Well, but no, I get what you're saying. You're saying God almost got to show you a part of each part of the kingdom. In
Yeah.
the sense that, you know, the apostolics, they walk in holiness. You can't get away from the worship. You know, shout out to Manny. He grew up.
Incredible.
Yeah, he grew up apostolic, and there's just a sense of like he got respect for that. You know, but then they're also like women don't wear pants and don't wear makeup. And that's where I'm like, okay, well, for some people this works. For others, it connects the main point of the faith because they can't get past this little thing. So I think it's great that you've had different experiences. What else? You were a Nazarene. You were an apostolic.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to Catholic church?
Yes, I have.
We'll hit on that in a second.
Shout
I
out
would
to
love
Jeri.
to shout out to the
I did by
Catholics.
accident once.
Really?
You walked in accidentally to a Catholic church?
Well, it was on a military base, so they use the same. Yeah, and the same chapel has to do every single type of.
Yeah, because you serve in the reserves.
Same in the Air Force Reserves.
Yeah, come on, man. We love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nazarenes,
I've gone to a Catholic
Apostolic,
church,
been to
but like on
Catholic
the
church.
holidays, you know,
Yep.
just
and then you connected, obviously. Where was the place you feel like you connected? What type of church?
it was Destiny Church.
Cool.
Yeah. So right after, because before I went to Destiny, I was living in a different city, and I would go to Starbucks and listen to Judah Smith and Carl Lentz, their sermons, just because at that time that's what I needed.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that style of preaching was going to be at Destiny, which I would end up going to, getting connected, and that kind of like opened that up, you know.
Yeah.
But Destiny just showed me something that I really needed, was like genuine community. I'm not saying that people are perfect, you know. There's no such thing, but like it was a genuine community. I met him, Randy, Gio, so many people that really loved me just for me. Didn't see gifting, didn't see any of that. They didn't care. They're like, we just want you to grow as a disciple.
It's great, man. Yeah, and that's where I obviously, when people ask me where I met Jesus, I always refer to Destiny because I say I was 21. That's when I heard the gospel. My mom and dad had me in a couple different church experiences here and there growing up. Like I remember going to Christian camp twice, but not going to the church that provided the camp. Do you know what I mean? So it was like I never really belonged somewhere. I did go to a church in the desert in junior high for like a couple months. I remember going to a Presbyterian church when I was like 7. You know, I remember actually playing organ at a Presbyterian church. Like I had learned how to play a song and my mom knew the choir director, and then I had my performance and it was like this big old deal. I thought I was going to get all these girls after, and you know, yeah, it was just like 70-year-old women and stuff. And I'm like, you know, 8, like, where's all the girls at, you know, and it's all these bombs, come on, kissing me. And like, and they've been there the whole time, you know, like it's, but I never had like a genuine community until like what you're talking about, you know? So it's pretty cool. So, okay. And then Jeri, first church experience, religion, how were you raised?
So
or
I'm Filipino, and most Filipinos grow up Catholic.
Really?
Yeah, most of them. They're, in the Philippines, majority is Catholic. The bottom half of the country is Muslim. Yeah.
Whoa.
I think there are some non-Catholic Christians within there, because I know my cousin married someone who's Christian and he's Catholic, so they end up going to church separately. But for me, yeah, so I grew up Catholic. My dad, before he met my mom, was actually in seminary to become a priest.
Wow. Your mom was?
Oh, my dad.
Your dad was?
My dad was, yeah. So he had the whole intention to be a priest, but then things happened and he ended up being a deacon like around, when I turned 21. He turned 50.
That's cool. So what are some of the good things out of Catholic practice? Like you feel like you got?
I think there's getting in the rhythm, right? It's very structured. Some people need structure.
Yeah, like the liturgy and just how it flows. Yeah,
You know what's gonna happen. Some, like, I understand the idea of like, okay, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. You understand what's gonna happen. There's timing for everything. Whereas I know for some people, maybe like people with anxiety, they probably want to do well in a spontaneous worship thing, just because,
like, what's happening?
Like,
what's happening?
I don't get it, like anxiety and all that. But it definitely set the foundation for me to understand the Bible a little more, the gospel and all that. So to get me to where I am now, part of gospel, I think gospel is my first real church home. Yeah. Aside from the Catholic church I went to.
Yeah, but this feels like a community. Almost.
Yeah, it feels like
my tribe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, Pete Gregg has a line where he talks about Catholic church. Well, he talks about, I think, more about Lutheran or Presbyterian is real structured as well.
Yeah.
But he just says, you know, when you're going through a season of pain or death or grief, you don't know what to do sometimes. So it's good to have a rotation, like a liturgy, where it's like, I just pray the prayer that has always been prayed, because what am I going to pray? I'm so pissed, or I'm so upset, or I'm so empty, that to jump in a cycle like that is good, you know? And Tim Keller is Presbyterian, one of my favorite authors of all time. Shout out to Tim Keller, trying to get through this cancer bout. But just, you know, to hear him teach the gospel, and he's monotone speaker, not a lot of charismatic feels to it. Yeah. I have such an appreciation for that. But I also know like what God has done in me is a different expression, you know? So it's very cool, man, to see you a part of like this Christian church with the Catholic background and just fit right in.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. All right. Last but not least, Jesse, talk to us, Jesse. Were you raised in a Christian home? Were you, okay, so you just born into it?
Yeah. So like, I'm Puerto Rican, full Puerto Rican, and a lot of times that plays a huge role, like you said, too. So like what your culture really is.
Yeah, ethnically, huh?
Yeah. So like, I feel like for the most part, you're either going to get like Catholicism or Pentecostal Christian. Like there's no in between for the most part.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I grew up going to Pentecostal church. And so I don't know, I feel like I've always just taken to that, and that's just where my faith has always been more comfortable, is in that type of environment where like the prophetic is welcome and like, but there's still structure. And it wasn't like the huge, like, okay, you know, no makeup for girls, only long skirts, guys have to wear suits every day. It wasn't like,
it wasn't
that.
super,
It wasn't like super Pentecostal, but I've been there too.
Yeah.
I ain't like all that.
Yeah. Well, I think you're thinking too, apostolic, they're Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Right. But they're like a branch of Pentecostalism that's like a little bit more devout.
Sure.
Super more devout, I would say.
A lot of more.
Yeah, it's very different.
Like Benny Hinn is Pentecostal technically.
Yeah.
Well, like he's a different flow of Pentecostalism.
Yeah.
So almost apostolic then, huh? Like you never got into those things.
Never got that far. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then just moved to like a non-denominational church once I like graduated. So that was like my home, was that type of church from, you know, elementary all the way up to high school. And then from high school, got into the military, had to like find my own type of faith.
Yeah.
and like really figure out, okay, if I'm really about this, like how am I about this?
Yeah.
So that's start reading, start praying, start going to like different services. There's like different services in boot camp that I had to go to, and like I needed that. You need Jesus when you're in boot camp.
I was gonna say,
I don't care who you are, Jack. You know?
there's got to be some people out there desperate for Jesus.
Bro, you would not believe. And I mean, I'm in the Air Force, you know, I'm not in the Marines, so like boot camp's a lot different. But man, like you really need something. Yeah. But like that's when I found my faith. Like I literally, we have, you know, you wear cargo pants, whatever, when you're in uniform in the military. So like my cargo pants, you're only allowed to wear like your fanny pack you have to wear, and it's just your water bottle, your boot camp manual, and like a pen. That's it. I literally was sneaking Bibles like in my pocket. Like, yo,
That's tight.
check this out real quick. You know what I mean? Like
Armed and dangerous.
And that's when I found out, like, yo, like, okay, this is how I really feel. This is like where I need to go towards, what I need to push for. So like, then you graduate boot camp, you go to like a college type of setting for your military job. So like I went there, started going to like different churches, and that's when I accidentally went into a Catholic service.
Yeah, so tell us about this. So you were going to check a church out and you didn't know it was a Catholic church?
I had no idea, because like you don't really get a lot of resources sometimes to tell you like, okay, this is when this service is. This is when this service is. So sometimes, and it fluctuates too, and you won't know because they don't have like a Facebook page.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, I went to church like 2 times before. I was like, all right, we'll go at the same exact time. Where one of my homeboys, we was walking up in there, you know, already. And then I walk in and like, there's a bowl of water sitting here. Like
The holy water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bless yourself.
And I seen people walk in there and they're just like, I thought they were licking their fingers like, this tastes good. So I smelled it and I just kept walking because I'm like, this smells weird. So I just kept going. I sat down and they started talking and I'm just like,
You're like, this doesn't seem like church last week.
no, this doesn't.
Yeah, so this was on your base.
on base.
And it was the same room, but they were now just having a Catholic service.
Exactly. Yeah, because
Wow.
they just have one building that's designated to every single religion.
So it's not like you walked in knowing like, oh, this is a...
Yeah, it wasn't like
Yeah.
a big cathedral. It's just
Got
like this
it.
one old school military building. You go inside and then it's like this all wooden building,
Yeah.
a room. I walked out. I was like,
Oh, so you
I don't
bounced.
know about this.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you know how uncomfortable people are sometimes walking into a church that they've never been in? And for like me, for you, especially us, we're all part of this church.
Yeah.
We see this, we're comfortable here. So it's not our first time. We know people. We're like, hey, even the people we don't know, we're like, I'm good. I've been here. But just every Sunday when I'm getting ready to preach, I'm always thinking about that. I'm like, some people are so uncomfortable right now because they just walked in like, I'm checking this church out, you know, and they're waiting for that moment. And it does play a big factor. What's the first couple minutes like? Because you knew right away when you saw the bowl, something's off here.
I was like, what are they doing?
This isn't what I signed up
Washing
for.
your hands or like,
Yeah.
what's going on? I still don't really know what that's about.
Washing your hands.
It's like to bless yourself with the holy water.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like
You
part of
said
there.
licking it like
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A
it
sauce.
looked like they was like going like this, but I guess they was going like this. I don't know. But it was cool. I mean, I left, but
Yeah.
you know, after that though, I like started getting heavily into like ministry and like trying to like evangelize. I got
Right.
really heavy into evangelism, just like going around and literally just praying for people on the sidewalk.
Wow.
In this community.
Come on.
That's cool.
In this
That's
community.
cool.
I've seen like
Yeah, give me an
healings
example.
happen.
Yeah, so like when you say like evangelism, you mean
Basically just like literally walking up to random people like, yo, something I could pray for you for, bro.
wow.
Just that's it. Like nothing like, yo, the Lord actually just told me I need to pray for you right now. There was nothing like that.
Yeah,
on,
just
that's good.
natural, but it's like ministering to people.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Just
So
going
get like, what have you seen before? Have you ever seen somebody like healed or like
Yeah,
something
so like, I
like
can remember there was a crazy moment where
Here we go. Sorry.
I can see you
This
just
is right up my
judging
alley.
me,
I'm like,
like,
let's do this.
He's like, yeah. Gio said, healing stories, buckle up.
overdrive. Yeah. So I remember one point, like I was on this team actually with my church, and we were evangelizing one night.
Yeah.
And there's just this whole strip on Water Street where it's just all the bars, right? Here in Fredonia. And we're walking down there, and I seen this dude that I know, and I was like, "Yo, how you been? You know, haven't seen you in a while, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, I'm good. You know, I hurt my ankle real bad and whatnot, and I can't really like walk on it." And I'm like, da da da. I'm like, "Can I pray for it?"
Ah, yeah.
I look down like that. He's like, "Yeah, bro, that's fine." You know, everybody really like trusts him. So I go and I just pray for his ankle. Lord, heal it right now. I was like, how much better is it now? He's like, this is weird. I said, let me pray one more time. I pray for it again. And he
Doubled
just
up on him.
Yeah, and he's just like, bro, there ain't no pain.
Wow.
And that was like a really cool one. And then there was that same night. Okay, so that same night, I kept having like this dream about something I did in the past. Okay, so there was one point where it was just a really misplaced like comment that I had said to somebody after a basketball game in high school, and I kept having this like convicting dream about it. It just kept coming up and coming up and coming up, and then it came to this night where we were out evangelizing, and I saw him out at the bars, and I was like, "Yo, I just need to tell you like about this dream that I had because you were in it."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, bro, what's up?" So I told him about this dream, and like immediately I got a revelation about how God just connected it to him and connected it to me, and like kind of gave him a revelation about his life.
And that's when people double take.
Yeah.
Once there's that word of knowledge or that word of wisdom, like about something, they're like, I should be listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you pray for him and
I prayed for him afterwards, prayed for one of his buddies, and then, everybody just went on their way. But that was like, I think that was more of like a freeing thing for me. And I
That's
think
wild.
sometimes that happens too. Like when you're evangelizing, you get freed more than anything.
right, because it's the release of what's built up inside you. You're getting a relief because you're like, I got this thing in me. What is this? And,
Yeah.
I've had times where it's like, I'm getting ready to go out somewhere, and like the whole day, like this happened to me once, I had this overwhelming sense of like killing myself. Life is good. I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
And I'm driving over the Jackson Bridge, and I'm like wanting to jump off the bridge. And I'm just, what the heck? So get to youth, get to the night, get to the altar call. At the end of the night, end up talking to some girl who literally had plans to jump off the bridge, and I'm like, that's why. And we've had people in our past jump off bridges at our church. Like we knew people that were suicidal. So when the Spirit of God puts that on you, it's sometimes connected to someone else.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes when you maybe are just trying a little too hard.
Well, that's another thing.
I
That's
have
a
had
whole
an experience,
different
and we
thing.
talked about this earlier.
Like fishing.
You trying, like,
Yeah.
or you just don't know, and you genuinely like have
Yes.
a burden for somebody, but it's just not the right time.
Yeah.
Like you gotta have some type of discernment when you're evangelizing, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So bad experience. I told you about this bad experience before. Or I was at this. I went to this like conference, and there was a speaker, and it was like super like good and everything like that, super empowering, and like everybody's praying for each other, people falling out. Great time. People getting healed. It was very, very, very good for me, especially. I needed it, and started learning a lot. And I was trying to discern a lot as well. So like just trying to get on that path. This is a little bit after that first evangelism story there, but we were in Ohio. It was me and a bunch of other people, and we just we went to this 2-day conference, praying for people, crazy stuff, right? And then after the conference, there was a regular church service the next day. So it's on a Sunday morning, whatever. And there's this dude just like, if you're watching this, bro, like you'll know. He was just like crying, and he was just like, but like hard cry, like hurting, like when you cry so hard that you're just like jolting, like you're just in pain crying. Yeah. I was like, bro, I gotta go pray for him.
Deliverance.
I gotta go pray for him. So I go and I just like grab a bunch of tissues. I'm like, bro, he wants your heart, man. He wants your heart. And he's just like kind of giving me like a stiff elbow, and I was like, oh, let me just lean in a little bit more. He just keep giving me the stiff elbow. He's like, I'm good, bro. I'm good. Like stops crying immediately. I'm good, bro. And so I just like turn around.
You're like, oh, he is not receptive.
bad.
This like
Not
you,
bad.
yeah, maybe a
I
reach.
ruined that moment.
100%.
There was an intimate moment he was having with the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And I went in there and ruined it. And this is the first time I've ever like said it out loud publicly.
That's huge,
Most
though.
embarrassing thing ever.
Well, bro, but I get that though. That happened at youth all the time. We'd be having these kids at the altars, and then like their leader would come behind them and just start like, I just prophesy over this. And I'm like, wait a minute. Don't, he's getting wrecked.
Sure.
It's like untouched by man. We should let the Holy Spirit do what you think you need to deliver.
Let it.
That happened legit with the guy right next to me. So there was this one of our friends
Whoa.
Wait,
what?
right next to me.
Oh, shoot.
And this is like a shifting moment in my life when it comes to like being wise on how you minister. There was a friend who was in worship and his eyes were closed. He was in it, dude. And I went to give him a word, and I gave him the word. But then like he popped up, he was like, whoa, because again, he's with Jesus. He's in that moment of worship. I didn't see anything wrong with it. And then after, he comes up to me, he's like, hey, the way you did that was wrong. He's like, it's not bad that you did that. There's a way to do it. Like, give it to him after.
Yeah.
And I was like, at first I was like, wait, what? And then I thought about it, I was like, okay.
It's worship. We got them here. This is the goal is to get them here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it changed just like those moments. Yeah. Don't touch them. Like, let them be, because you're not God. I think sometimes we try to be God, and we're like, oh, like let me be the one that gives the word. God's gonna give them the word, or whatever it is, you know.
That's the best word you can get, is what's happening every week. We gather and we sing and we teach the scriptures. The goal of giving words out on the street are to give an extension of that regular rhythm for the covenant family of God. And so I love that you brought that up, because it was a problem I think we had in our youth group, where the gifts of the Spirit were starting to get unlocked, but there was now a sense of timing.
There's no discipline.
100%. And a discernment of like, if you really have a word, okay, you can wait until all the kids are going back to their seats. Pull them outside. I don't care. Take them outside real quick, give that word. But like during worship, it's like all attention, all focus is on him, you know? And I think you're right in a sense. I've been in prophetic environments where people are reaching. I was at a meeting. It was like 10,000 people at this meeting, and I was with like 6 people, and these 3 guys come up and they're like, you know, we've been praying. And we're like, what? These guys are going to give us a word. And he's like, he kind of just stands there. Does anybody here drive a yellow Volkswagen? And we're all desperate. We're like hungry. We're like, no. I drive a black Corolla, you know, and yeah. And it's like, I've had guys pray for me and tell me like, you know, you're going to be, I see you as a DJ on stage in front of crowds. Are you a DJ? And I'm like, no, I'm actually a pastor. Oh, that's what it is. I see you on the stage in front of crowds preaching the gospel. And I'm like, cool, but wait a minute. Yeah, and I don't want to like pick it apart, because I always want people to try prophesying. But once you kind of know like, oh wait, there is a holiness and a respect and a reverence, you don't just start a prophetic word by being like, anybody got this? Yeah. I've been on stage before. This happened to me. I've been like, I feel like I got a word for Sarah. Is there a Sarah here? No Sarah's there. And I'll be like, does anyone know someone named Sarah? Hands go up. I'm like, this is a word for them, you know? And it's great intention. It's great heart, but I don't think that's as accurate as there's somebody with a right elbow right now and they're like, I'm right here.
Yeah.
You know? So I love that when the Spirit of God wills, he uses us, but I think we ought to have a respect for like, oh no, that dude, like, okay, when he speaks, God confirms.
I think there's a reverence for certain people like that are just on spot, on point almost every time, you know,
100%.
every time. And I think there's something too, like when you get in a word, I think there comes a point where you have to chew the meat and spit the bones though.
Oh yes, people giving you words.
You can't just take everything. You got to test every spirit.
100%. Yeah, I had words given to me like, your wife is going to be someone you never met, but I had already met Randy. And so it's like, there's some people that take words so like it's make or break versus it's an edification, it's an encouragement, it's a rebuke. You know, there's some people that are like, this is what the prophet said, so I have to live as if that's what's going to happen. It's like, well, don't like change what God's doing in your life because the guest speaker said something, you know? But I love just what God's been doing at our church, because there's a space for the prophetic, there's a space for the supernatural, but it's in a way that anyone can get into it, you know? So it's good. Okay, any stories, testimonies from you? Like he talked about some healings. Any things come to mind? We'll wrap up in a second with some like lightning round questions.
After this break.
No, yeah.
Welcome back.
So for me, I love that he brought up evangelism, because evangelism is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I did it not out of like a title. I just, because I didn't really know about evangelism, like a teaching about it.
Same.
I just knew that God was speaking to me and wanted me to share that he loves them, or, you know, that they can find freedom or whatever. And I'll just share it with them. Yeah. But it wasn't until 2020 that he started teaching me like in depth about evangelism. And then in 2021, I went to Brazil with an organization called Dunamis.
Hey. Shout out Dunamis.
Shout out to Dunamis, the Brazilians.
We've heard legends about the Brazilians.
Yo,
just from this guy.
Fiery people, man. Like you think you're fiery, you know? Wow. That's humbling. Anyways, but long story short, I'd been having knee problems before going there, and then I went and I was just hanging out with some friends. We were on our bunk beds, and my knee locked up, and like I couldn't move it. It was painful. So they're praying for me, like, you know, for healing. Nothing. So then I ended up getting taken to the hospital in Brazil, in a very small community, like smaller than Fredonia, man. Like it's a rundown community. And the hospital out there was just a very like rinky-dink hospital. So they take me there. Again, I know very little Portuguese. The person that took me, I barely know who she is. So I get in this hospital. sitting there waiting to be called up, figure out what's going on with my knee. I'm thinking I need surgery. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. And at first I'm cool. And then anxiety kicks in like I've never felt before. Like I'm frightened for my life. I'm like, I don't know anyone here. Yeah. And if I end up getting surgery on my knee, like paying for like, what's going to happen? I'm like, God, this makes no sense. Like you brought me out here on a miracle. Like, why am I here? So I tell God, I'm like, if you heal my knee, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Cause I felt like something was shifting in that room. Yeah. So then I lay my hand on my knee and I just pray for healing. And there was a pop. So then I start moving my knee. And my friend comes over and she's like, what just happened? And I'm like, I think God healed my knee. She's like, well, stand up, move. So I'm like, I'm moving around. And then she's like, do you want to go? Like, let's go back to the farm where that thing was. And I'm like, no, like we need to preach the gospel right now because God just did something. Wow. And I'm not going to leave until people realize what God did. Wow. So I'm preaching the gospel. She's translating in Portuguese. Salvations, bro, miracles.
At the hospital.
This lady was in a wheelchair in excruciating pain. And my friend comes up and prays for her. She gets out of the wheelchair and she's like, I'm fine. Everyone's like, sit down. She's like, no, God touched me. I'm good. Wow. Walks out. A guy who was stuck on drugs had a excruciating headache. And he's like, I'm using drugs because that's the only way I'm going to numb the pain. He's like, I don't know what to do, but I need Jesus. I see what's going on in that room. Like, can you pray for me? We pray for him. His headache goes away. He gives his life to Jesus, says, I'm done with drugs. And then going back to the farm where the school was taking place and shared the testimony and faith was stirred. And it was.
That's pretty awesome, man. There is something about the testimony, like the telling of the testimony. This just happened on Sunday. I think you were at the altars praying for somebody, got delivered, like dude's first time in our church. He got invited, got rocked at the altar. Feels like he just, gives his life to Jesus, right? And then Giovanni's talking to him and he's like, this is Dave. Why don't you share your testimony with him? And immediately the dude that had an encounter starts testifying about where he's come from. That does something.
Yeah.
There's just something about that. The Bible says the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So it's like when we testify, it sets the atmosphere up. 100%. And yeah, this was great, guys. I think this conversation was awesome. If you've got your thoughts on some of the questions, drop them in the comments. If you agree, if you disagree, let us know. We're going to end with some lightning round questions for everybody.
I was not expecting any of that.
I know, right? And the goal is that we would answer some questions pretty quick and, not think too much about it. So you said Brazil earlier, kind of made me think. So if you can go anywhere in the world, country, where would it be?
That we've never been to or that we've
never been before?
Japan.
Japan.
I've been wanting to go to Japan for so many years.
Yeah, I think Japan too, actually.
What? The same country? Okay.
We'll go.
I'm going to say like Italy. I want to go to Italy or like Greece or something.
Germany.
German, huh? The Germans.
The Germans.
BVB. Borussia Dortmund.
Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah.
Shout out if they're watching.
Yeah, okay. In Western New York, we're blessed. We got 4 seasons. Sorry, y'all. So we actually get winter, fall, summer, spring. Favorite season?
Fall.
Yeah, fall.
Yep.
I've only experienced some. No,
you about to get fall.
Mine's winter.
You love winter.
I love
He
the
be
snow.
talking about the snow all the time.
For some reason, it just gets me creative. Yeah.
I think fall is cool because it's like it's a vibe. You got the trees changing and you got the beanies.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yep.
spice.
What's the best cup of coffee you've ever had?
Whoo! You done did that.
Yeah.
So Bree and I will rave about this all the time, but we went to this bakery in Orlando called Gideon's and they have a peanut butter cold brew.
Rookie.
That's my favorite.
This guy over here.
I know
Rookie.
your specialty. Like I dig specialty coffee and all that. But I'm with it. To the point where we tried to make it last week. So it's
yeah.
good.
For me, I think it's Stumptown Coffee Roasters is the best cappuccino I've had. There's one in LA. There's one in Portland. There's a couple places, but for me, whenever someone says, "What's the best place to get coffee?" I'm like Stumptown, like the actual place in LA. Where they roast it and send it off. Yeah. That main store. Every time
I always wondered where their main store was.
Yeah, it's like in the Arts District, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I probably drove past it.
Yeah, it's awesome though. That's for me. What about you?
So you guys are gonna hate me for this because I'm bringing it back up again. But when I was in Brazil, they made a single origin out of Brazilian beans, a cold brew that was the smoothest thing I've ever had. Like it was literally perfect.
How much it cost though?
It wasn't much, honestly,
Because it was Brazil.
yeah, the currency is very different. But even my friends who are from
Yeah.
California were like, dude, this is the greatest thing we've ever had. I'm like, I know.
Well, that's interesting you say that. What's yours? What's your best cup of coffee?
Best cup of coffee.
Don't say Tim Hortons, though.
Trash.
I don't even put my money in that pot. I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, and there was this coffee shop that we stopped at on our way back home, and it was like this honey latte. I love lattes. I'm like,
Yeah.
not a macchiato,
Yeah. Honey latte.
honey latte, bomb.
Bomb.
Nice.
Yeah, it had
Bougie.
me. What had me think when you're saying Brazil? Because I've had like a flat white. I've had a flat white like in London, like Heathrow Airport. You know, I've had
They don't
a
mess
lot.
around.
I had a latte in Johannesburg, like in Africa.
Ooh.
And then Australia coffee. You know,
I heard
Australians.
Australians crazy.
It's crazy. I had some stuff in Melbourne and Sydney, and it's like some of the best places in the world. Johannesburg probably
Yeah.
was like one of the best lattes, but for me, it was an African latte. They called it. It was just all kinds of stuff in it. And I was like you. I'm like, oh, well, I like lattes. But then I'm like, Billy, shut up. You're in
Vanilla
Africa. Drink the
Frappuccino,
latte.
please.
Yeah, I was like, drink the latte. Like, oh, do you guys have Starbucks? You know, it's like, yeah, it's good. Okay, last one, sports talk.
Here we go.
Oh,
Sports!
This is Jerry's favorite conversation.
Hey, sports is cool.
Favorite sport?
Ooh.
Soccer?
Football,
American football?
European football.
So football. Okay, so you're a football guy. Soccer.
It's soccer.
You say food?
Yep. Jesse?
Basketball.
Basketball?
Basketball.
Jerry?
Basketball.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I feel like Jerry, you don't really like sports. I feel like it's a joke sometimes.
He's an
Where
artsy fartsy guy.
Do your thing. Do your sports.
well,
Sports. Well, no, okay, no, because like
we're watching the Bills and Jerry's there. I'm like, Jerry, the Bills. He's like, sports.
well, no, okay. I appreciate watching sports. I did play sports in middle school. It's just I didn't do it in high school, so I was very disconnected from following it.
Yeah.
But when I'm very active in something, then that's what I follow. So for the longest time, I was following dance. So
Oh,
K-pop.
yeah.
He's a really good dancer.
You've
and
never
that
seen
is
me
a
dance
sport.
We've never
Or-
seen it.
You
It's
showed
a
me
myth.
videos.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
I've
like
seen
those.
it, and I feel
I
like
don't
I'm a
like
good dancer
those.
too.
So dancing is a sport.
Yes.
Cheerleading?
Yes.
Oh, here's the thing: cheerleading, if it's competitive, like they're doing flips and tumbles and throws, you know, and throw them in the air, absolutely, that's a
But if they're
sport.
just sitting on the sidelines in high school, just like
Give me an L, give me a T. I don't think so.
I will say dance is a sport for sure, especially how
Yeah.
dancers train now.
Oh, sure.
Like there's actual like set gyms that are
Training
dance
centers,
centric.
What about like TikTok dancing?
Those are fun, but
That's not a sport.
That's not a
sturdy,
sport.
sturdy. Jerry or Billy, what is your favorite sport?
It bounces from basketball and soccer. I have such a love for soccer because
He's not really good at FIFA though.
okay,
Oh.
first of all, that can be a
Pretty
whole
sure you get
thing.
watched every time I see y'all play.
No,
Hey.
it goes back and forth.
On my vlog, I should do a screen record and play this fool.
Yeah.
If we're really bad at
live stream.
So
live
it's
stream.
out there
I'll set up
forever.
a Twitch for Billy so
How
he can
cool
play.
would that be, dude?
That would be really dope.
I have such a love for soccer just because it's like the world's game, they call it, and it is football.
It is.
But there's just a different way soccer's played in each country. Like
Stylistically.
down in Mexico, they play soccer a lot different than over in Europe.
Brazil, my God.
Down in South America, it's a lot
Break
different
your
than like
ankles.
Africans.
Yeah.
Like so, it's pretty cool. I love it. But basketball's always been like since I was a kid. Fell in love with Jordan. Grew up loving the Bulls.
Is he the GOAT?
For me, Mike's the GOAT.
Jordan's the GOAT, huh?
Yeah. If LeBron is gonna win like 7 championships, 8 championships, I'll put him up there.
He a
I think LeBron. I love LeBron, and you know anyone watching this, you always smash. People always hit me up talking about I'm a LeBron fan and all this stuff, and I loved LeBron, but I'm a Nets fan, y'all. That's what I do.
LeBron's
Well, you don't have a team
boo-boo.
anymore then. Just
No, I love the Nets. I do have a team.
He changes wherever he's at.
We have a logo. We might not have the players, but we have a logo. All right. Well, I've always loved the New Jersey Nets, like since like Sam Cassell days and like Kendall Gill, Keith Van Horn, like back when Jordan. I've seen
Van
Jordan play.
Horn.
okay.
So when I was 7,
Wow.
this is a
You're
cool
a
story.
little older than me.
Yeah, I'm older. Thank you for reminding me. But I remember when I was like living in New Jersey as a kid, one year we had season tickets to the Nets, Continental Arena, and I just remember going to see Jordan play.
That's
It was,
That's so tight.
yeah, I remember just being like awestruck. This is like 96, 97. And I was so hyped because Sam Cassell, I'll never forget this, he hit a three-pointer at the buzzer to send it into overtime.
Word.
And I just remember being so excited because I had school the next day, and that means I got to stay out later. You know what I mean? And the Bulls ended up destroying them in overtime, but it was like a lifelong memory.
We got to
so
see Jordan play. That's
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I
we
definitely
can-
have
we
Jordan
can
as
say
my
that.
GOAT.
Okay, so he's your GOAT.
But my favorite player to ever walk this earth, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, talk about that.
KD248.
Yeah. Rest in peace, man.
Actually,
Yes,
it's KD
yeah.
824.
Well, you're right. Not really.
Yeah, anyways.
Hold on, real quick.
So-
Who's the most underrated basketball player of all time? Because no one talks about that.
Of all time, that's a hard question.
I mean, there's a couple people coming to mind. You know, it's like John Stockton
Damian
comes to
Lillard.
mind. Yeah, Damian Lillard, he's more modern.
More modern.
Yeah. He's never won anything, huh?
Never won anything, but he's like cold-blooded killer. And he got bars too. I
Russell
don't think he
Westbrook.
rap, but he can spit.
Magic Johnson. No one talks about him.
Magic Johnson is one of the greatest point guards of
He's
all time.
definitely
Are you kidding me? I think that, well, maybe no one talks about him anymore,
Yeah.
but like you can't deny, now we're talking basketball.
Yeah.
You can't deny that
I could go on.
that Magic changed like how the fast break was ran.
Yeah.
Steve
So-
Nash. See, no one talks about my boy Steve
Yeah, I
Nash.
love
That's very
love
true.
Steve Nash.
Very true.
Oh.
Mari Stoudemire.
Yeah. What do you think about Steve Nash?
Is he nasty?
I've heard his name before.
Go sports.
Yeah.
I've heard his name before.
He's actually referenced in The Office, but remember that episode where it's like he's like, these Steve Nash? He's like, yeah, from the Phoenix Suns. I'm about to sell to Steve Nash. Yeah, it was awesome.
Fun story. Never
Yep.
seen The Office.
Really?
Never seen The Office.
Not even like what, a rerun?
Should Christians watch The Office
I think The Office is just not a good show.
anymore?
No, it never was. Not funny.
Never was. Yeah, you don't find it
You
funny.
don't catch the humor?
The dry humor is kind of like,
No, but see, I'm dry. Like no lotion dry. But
oh
I
yeah,
don't
but
get it.
it's like offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see it all the time. People say if The Office was made today, it wouldn't have lasted just because
A lot of shows though are that way too though. So
That's true.
Speaking of shows, what's everyone's favorite show? Can we do that?
Oh yeah, that's a great question, man. So,
Yeah, can we?
what's your
New
favorite
Girl.
I knew you were gonna say
show? New
that.
Girl.
New Girl with Schmidt.
What's that on?
What is that?
It was on Fox.
That's
so-
like your typical millennial, like growing up,
I
trying
think
to
like
figure out
it's like
life.
like a Friends.
Oh, okay.
But for it's
I like Friends.
greatest show ever.
Wow, that's
It's
great.
funny. There are a lot of quotables.
What about you?
Boy Meets World.
Ooh, that's
Oh.
a clutch one right there, bro.
Okay, revealing your age.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm younger. I love Boy Meets World. Boys,
Okay.
Boys Meet World. Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World.
Boys
And then they
Meets
made the spin-off
Yeah.
Girl Meets World with
Tons
their
of
daughter.
S's.
It was good, dude. Last one for you.
I had to go modern. Just say Stranger Things.
Stranger Things is a great show.
That's
Yeah.
Yo, I can watch that. I can watch that every day.
Every day?
I could watch
That's
it every
heavy to watch
great.
every day.
Well, it's great just for us to talk about what we started with talking about. For me, I think when I think best show ever, I think Breaking Bad.
Ooh.
Wow, I've never seen it.
I've never watched
Everyone
it.
everyone always
Greatest.
comes up to me like, Jesse, where's the this or that? I'm like, what?
Yeah, because you're Jesse Pinkman. Yeah. I think Breaking Bad's the greatest ever. But I think it just, I love hearing actual stuff on what we all watch, what we listen to. But also, I love just hearing the conviction side of it and saying, like, here's why. And, you know, we'll wrap the conversation here. I think the best thing we could get out of this is we're willing to talk about controversial issues, but we're also willing to practically show people this is what it looks like. Because Breaking Bad was like one of the greatest shows for me, but it was like reading a good novel. If anything, it's enticing. And what makes the sin conversation with content today is it's all visual.
Correct.
There was a time
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you read a good novel and you concocted in your head what it looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like it comes across the
feeding it to
screen
you.
and people
Yeah.
are like, oh my gosh, I'm tempted. Versus like I'd be able to just, you know, and I still read today. I've read thriller novels. I've read like, you know, murder mysteries and I just read them for fun, right? But if I'm watching it, it does something different to my soul.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Because you're the director. You're coming up with it in your head.
Yeah.
Your convictions are on display.
That's tough.
It's good, man. Yeah. But I loved having you guys on, man. Loved the conversation. Appreciate all you do at our church, all you do in my life.
We love you. We honor you.
Thank you,
Love you,
man.
brother.
Yeah.
Love you, Billy.
Yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. We got more conversations ahead,
Yes,
including I'm
sir.
gonna do a one-on-one with Jeri soon, talking a little bit about his heritage, and then we got Tyshawn coming on the pod,
Yep.
and then we're gonna get some girls up in here soon. I'd love to like get one with your wife, you and your wife,
I'd
or
love to hear
something.
M's story. That'd be
Yeah. Yep.
The Marriage Chronicles.
Oh yeah. Yep.
How much you getting paid for the show then?
This one, nothing.
Food stamps.
I actually need you to do some
I feel
physical
like
labor
Bob
right now,
Barker
so
Just
you're
like
not
a
getting
Bob
anything. I
Barker
need you to do something though.
cool. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It's
There you
good.
go.
Thanks, Billy.
God bless y'all.